Greetings. Video is going to be about the syllabus for Sociology 122, Social Problems. I thought I would create in a video format something similar to what I do in the classroom. Well, as you can see on this first page, this class is online and my name is Jesse Smith-Fulia. There are several ways of contacting me. Email is probably the best. If you haven't heard back from me after you've emailed me within 24 hours, please shoot me another email just saying, hey, I just wanted to make sure that you received my email. I also have a phone number there that I can be reached at. It's a cell phone number. If you're going to text me, please make sure that it's a answer that I can give that's very simple, meaning don't ask a very complicated question. Like if it's a yes or no question, that's fine. Otherwise, just to use email, that's easier for me. You are more than welcome to come to office hours. They are Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. However, just to make sure that I'm going to be there, I have meetings and other things. So if you're not going to be on campus for other reasons, just shoot me an email or a text saying, hey, I just want to make sure that you're going to be there. I'm hoping to come for your office hours this day at this time, and I'll make sure that I'm there. If these hours don't work for you, or maybe you want to Zoom outside of these hours, those can certainly be scheduled. If you'll shoot me an email saying, hey, I'd like to Zoom with you, and then even suggesting, say, 3 times, and then I'll choose one of those and we can meet, and I'll set up the Zoom appointment for us. That's no problem. So the other thing, just before I move on, I will be emailing you primarily. That will be my main way of communicating with you, and I'll be emailing you at your Shawnee College email address. And so please be checking your email address. That is a really critical thing. And if for some reason your email address isn't working, please make that a top priority to get that fixed, kind of that kink worked out. And if you're always using some other email address, you can even set up a way to have the email forwarded to that address. You'll have to watch a YouTube video, I think, on how to do that, but I used to be able to do that. So, all right, well, this class is about understanding social problems, and we're going to look at that through a sociological perspective. And there are no prerequisites. It's a 3-credit hour class. We'll be using this book here. For one of the weeks, we will be watching a video that is on Netflix, and so you will need access to Netflix one way or another. If that's an issue and you can't afford a Netflix account, please let me know, and I may have some tricks in my bag. This is an asynchronous online class, and what that means is that we will not be meeting at any specific time during the week. The only time when we'll meet together as a group for a scheduled time is when we have office hours, which we're going to schedule. Occasionally I'll have people talk to me about, is this a Zoom class? Are we going to have to be meeting at a certain time? But the answer is no. I mean, you can do the work anytime during the week as long as it is due by Sunday. I highly recommend that you not wait until Saturday or Sunday to access the course, because the students that do this just really tend not to be successful. There are video lectures that I post in the Moodle page. Those are kind of like my lectures. All the assignments that I give to you and that you return to me are going to be submitted through our Moodle page. And so I don't accept assignments through email or in any other fashion. If there is an issue with Moodle, please let me know as soon as you can, because the odds are there are other students that may have a similar issue. There could be an issue on my end, or there could be something going on with you that I can help you work out. But you can email me letting me know that there's an issue, but don't email me your assignments. That just does not work out very well at all. So If there's something going on with Moodle and it's broken and that's not your fault, then I consider that when considering whether things are late or not. But the reality is my late policy is pretty different and makes allowance for that. But so don't sweat that. If there's something going on with Moodle and it's breaking, then reach out to me through an email and I will try to fix that. So assignments are due Sundays at midnight. Pretty much every week. I think there's a couple of exceptions throughout the semester, but assignments generally are due at midnight on Sundays. Sometimes within Moodle, it'll look like the assignment is due Monday at 0 o'clock. That's just Moodle's way of saying Sunday at midnight. I wouldn't recommend waiting until Sunday at midnight to submit things. There's always things that goes on in terms of the power goes out or the internet goes out, or it's just something is breaking technically, and so I would not wait until midnight to submit that thing. So you're encouraged to reach out to me in the way that works best for you. Okay, let's talk about the assessment process. So when I think about this course and I think about what is important for students to walk away from this course knowing what's going to help them in their life going forward, here's what we say. A demonstration of an awareness of how culture and society influence people's lives along racial and gender lines. And they're going to be writing about this in their chapter assignments. So one of the big things about sociology that's actually kind of hard to learn, because it's kind of opposite of the way we're taught as Americans, is that our surroundings, our society, the culture, it really impacts the way we make daily decisions and how far we go in life and how long we live and who we marry and so on and so forth. And that's really hard because we are very focused on what we're choosing to do. And so it seems like most of the time our life is a result of our personal choices. And to some degree it certainly is, but sociology does not focus on that. It focuses on how does your gender and your race and your sexuality and your class and your ability status and all those things, and what it says is, sociology kind of says well, we don't really know how one individual is going to do, but if we're playing the odds, then we know that people who are in these classifications tend to do these sorts of things, or they tend to go this far. So anyway, so that's important, and we'll be looking at that, and I'll be assessing you on that. And the college uses this to kind of know what do we need to work on. And then the second thing is to write a narrative discussing how structure supports the current social problems by giving concrete examples of current problems. And so, according to one of our theories, problems exist because they work. They're beneficial in some way. Even the ones that you'd think well, clearly crime is not beneficial. Well, according to sociology, it actually is, or at least kind of according to some sociological thoughts. And so just understanding that even in the midst of these problems, which seem to be really bad, there's generally something beneficial coming out of it. Someone's benefiting, and the rules and the structure and how it's set up is actually encouraging it to stay the way that it is. So more about that as we talk about the course, within the course. So all right, I'm saying it again here for the third time. Students are encouraged to regularly communicate with the instructor. It's probably one of the biggest things that students who are not successful are not doing. They're not communicating with the instructor. Weeks will go by where I won't hear from people, and so there's a lot of different ways you can reach out to me. Even as an online student, you can come see me in person. You can email me. By the way, when you email me, please include the class that you are in. That really helps me to zero in on your problem. And then I can do Zoom sessions where you can share your screen or all those sorts of things. So sometimes students are intimidated, I think, to do Zoom sessions with their instructors, but please don't let that stand in the way of you doing it. So it's part of the contract. It's part of why I'm here at the college is to meet with students. All right, here's the expectations for the class. First of all, regularly check our email address. That means at least 3 or 4 times a week. I try to check mine 3 times a day, but granted, I'm in a different situation than you. But I do recommend that you check it, I don't know, often. I'll say that. Communicate with the instructor if unforeseen things come up. Your book didn't come in, the power got turned off, your internet is acting crazy, something is going on. If you wait a long time before you communicate that, our options shrink. So the expectation is that you read, that you have the book, and that you read it. It is going to be very hard to do the assignments if you don't read the textbook. And so it is my expectation that you are reading the textbook. You need on-demand internet access, not accessing it from a computer lab, not getting it on your cell phone. You need internet so that when you go to a computer, which is in your home, you log in and there it is. You're not having to borrow it from your neighbor, or you're not, kind of doing all these tricks and hacks that typically during crunch time don't work. So I want you to be successful here. And the students that try to do those sorts of things, they go to the libraries, they go to Shawnee College's, extension centers, and that is their only access to the internet, and they don't have it at home. It's like tying a hand or two behind their backs. So I'm expecting that you have access to Moodle, to access to YouTube, Netflix, and a word processing software. If you don't have a word processing software, the college gives Microsoft Office for free. If you don't like that, you can use Google Docs. If you don't like that, you can use LibreOffice or some other open source software. You need the technical skills to write papers, use Moodle, and access class content. Right? There are some technical skills to using Moodle. It's not always super user-friendly. But even if you don't have all the skills, at least you need to have the ability to find them out, whether that's emailing me or watching the videos. I put up videos about how to access, some of the assignments and how to use Moodle. There's a Moodle 101 class that you can sign up today and get it for, access it for free to learn how Moodle is set up. The expectation is that you complete assignments on time. The expectation is that you proofread all of your assignments. I'm regularly counting students down in their assignments because they just didn't proofread what they turned in. And so much of communication today is digital, and if you're putting out something where you're not capitalizing the first letter of your word, you're not using a comma when you're talking about lists, it looks less professional. All right. It is the expectation that you try to connect the material to your own life, that this subject doesn't just exist like out in the void somewhere and it's theoretical. This is actually, we're talking about our own lives here. We're talking about things that are very personal. They're the very things that impact us on a daily basis. And my expectation in one of the assignments especially is that you say, hey, this is what's going on in relation to the thing we just read about in my personal life. You're going to need time to read and complete assignments each week. I'm a slow reader. You're going to need some time each week set aside. And so I would recommend that you schedule that right now. And so if you use a digital calendar system, you can put it so that it's repeating, so that every Wednesday at 3 o'clock, you're taking 2 hours to look at this class assignments and to complete them. So you're going to submit the assignments to Moodle. We're going to have class discussions, and my expectation is that you're going to be thoughtful about them. Sometimes students just want to agree with other students regardless what they're saying, whether they actually agree, whether they understand or not. But those typically are pretty boring and kind of meaningless. So I want you to have thoughtful class discussions. We're going to be respectful, and we're going to be honoring other people's perspectives, but we're also still going to be questioning them and be like, wait a minute, is that really true? Why do you believe that? That kind of thing. So we want a safe space for disagreement, right? We're not going to be using hateful or discriminatory language. So, all right, attendance policy. Students are to be online multiple times per week. Students should access their Moodle class and especially the class forums. This is where we have our discussions several times per week. If there's an emergency that comes up, we will handle that on an individual basis at my discretion. All right, well, what are the activities that are going to lead to your final grade? So the elephant in the room here is the are the chapter responses. So chapter responses are where the student reads that week's chapter and they're reading it, they're taking notes, and then they're going to write about it, right? And the reason I say take notes is that because you cannot, sorry, I'm a little frustrated here. You cannot use the author's words in your summary response. It's a common error that students make. If you use the author's words, I don't know whether you understand what you're writing about, right? And so I want to know, did you understand what we're talking about here? And if you use someone else's words, I don't know. I mean, I could use Chinese, symbols in my writings, but I don't speak Chinese in any form, and so you could really question whether I understand what I'm writing about, and I don't. I wouldn't, because I don't understand. And so it is the taking of someone else's ideas, the expert, the teacher, or the author, and breaking it down to something that you understand, putting it in your own words, and that is a demonstration of understanding. So that's what I'm looking for, right? A summary of the chapter. This is about a page long, 250 words to 375. And then that's the summary in your own words, right? And we have a plagiarism checker that runs through this, right? So it's tough to get away with it. And then it's a personal response to the chapter, right? So this is where you say, okay, that is what Jesse and the author said. My words are in the lecture, the author's words are in the textbook. Now it's like, okay, put all that aside, and now you say, okay, this is where it connects to my life. So the first, let's say, we're talking about, I don't know, pollution, right? And so how does that connect to your life? And this is where you can say, you know what, my mother has lung cancer, and I sometimes wonder if her lung cancer came from the mold that was in our basement, right? So that's like a connection between the material and a student's day-to-day life. You could talk about unanswered questions. I don't understand why the author says this, or I don't understand why you in your lecture said that, or you disagree. I think that we're making too big of a deal of pollution, and it's an excuse for liberal politicians to extract more tax dollars, or whatnot. The expectation is that this to be about a paragraph, 100 to 200 words. I'm looking for thoughtful connection between the material. If you just say, I thought the chapter was great, I have no questions, it's like, well, there's no evidence there that you're responding and that you're trying to connect the material to your own life. So the whole thing should be about 1.5 pages long. It should be typed with 1-inch margins, double spaced. I didn't say it here, but size 12 font. At the top of your paper, please just put the chapter and your name. I don't need my name or the date or the class or anything like that. The next assignment here are class discussions. Class discussions are these weekly responses to the chapter. I post, I think, like 2 to 4 questions for you to choose from. You can answer all of them, or you can answer just one of them, but you're responding to them, and you're posting them for everyone else to look at and everyone else to comment, right? So I'm asking that you put that out. I'm asking for that to be 200 words long, right? And then you post 2 meaningful comments to other students' posts. Hey, I noticed that you said this in your post. I was wondering, have you ever thought about this other thing? And in my experience, this, is true, or things of that nature. So, this is really where I mentioned about not being hateful and figuring out how to disagree while still being honoring. This is especially prevalent in today's American society, where we're really struggling on how to disagree in an honoring way. All right, and then there are also 2 exams that occur in this semester. One is at midterms, and one is the final. The final is cumulative too. we have a standard grading scale there. I have a late work policy that is fairly new for me. I'm trying it out for this semester. And it is, the purpose of it is to reward students that are turning things in on time. Again, that's the expectation. But if the student does not turn those in, I still want them to have an opportunity to learn the material and complete the assignments. And so for that, I'm introducing two terms here, a soft due date and a hard due date. A soft due date is one that a student can go through it. They can miss it and they can still get some credit, right? I think it's 10% off. And then a hard due date is where an assignment cannot be submitted after that due date has passed. So if the soft due date is today, and the hard due date is tomorrow, then if you want full credit, you submit it today. And if you want partial credit, but still some, you can submit it by tomorrow. Right? Most assignments have both soft due dates and hard due dates. Right? All right. Yeah. If you do not show up and you're missing lots of class and the assignments, and I don't know if you're engaging in the class, and usually I'm sending out emails, I'm trying to reach you, and I haven't been able to, they tell me that it's in your best interest for you to be dropped from the class. The only way that happens is if basically students drop off the map. I haven't heard from them, they haven't logged in especially in the beginning. This is really prevalent in the beginning because after like a few weeks, I lose the ability to drop students. So within those first few weeks, making sure that you are logging in, that you're completing some assignments, that I've got some evidence to say this person is involved in this class, okay? And if you're not, for some reason, then you need to be reaching out and communicating with me so that you don't get dropped. So, all right. The odds are, if you're listening to this, you're probably not the one that's going to be dropped. It probably doesn't apply to you. All right. This is a semester outline. I try my best to schedule all the assignments that we're going to be doing in the class here. All right, so this first week, we're going to be looking at the syllabus. You're going to be watching this video. You're going to be doing an introduction to Moodle quiz, and we're going to be introducing ourselves, right? You're going to be uploading the syllabus signature page. Okay, that's all we're going to do this first week. The second week is where we jump into the chapter. You read the chapter. We're going to be watching a short video about sociology, why sociology exists, and then I have a lecture there on chapter 1. You're going to be doing the class discussion and then submitting your chapter response. Remember, the chapter response is where you summarize and then respond to the chapter. And basically, it follows that format throughout the semester. I do want to point out one thing here. The week of March 7th is the midterm. Now, assignments are due at midnight on Sunday. That's the soft due date. The hard due date for the first half of the class is Monday, March 7th at 9 a.m., which means that if you, say, miss chapter 6 response and you didn't submit it by February 27th, you have until March 7th at 9 a.m. to submit that. Okay? If you don't submit it by the 27th, but you submit it before the 7th, you will get, you have a potential to get 90% of the points, right? Because 10% off just for that late penalty. Here's the thing about submitting things late. I will not give you a 0 in the book. And so it may look as though you are doing better in the class than you are if you have missed assignments, right? And so realize that. Tell you what, I would just skip all that stuff and just submit things on time, because here's the reality of it. when students submit things late, they tend not to be as good a quality. So let's say they would normally submit something and they would get, say, a 93, and they miss that assignment because something happens, right? And then now they're working on it the next week, but the next week they have has its own chapter to read and assignments for it. So now they're reading through the chapter that they were supposed to read the previous week, and they're reading it in a rush because they've got 2 chapters to read just for this one class, and they're writing their paper in a rush, so they may not be proofreading it well. And so the paper that would have been become a 93 now becomes an 83 because they are in a rush. But it's not an 83, it's a 73 because it's turned in late. They have to have 10 percentage points knocked off of that, or just 10 points. And so that's why I would say, like, really use this hard due date only as a last resort. So, and the same week we have exam 1 that is due at midnight. So I'll be posting that like a week before it's actually due. It's an essay style. So, and then the rest of the semester kind of plays out the way it has. The only difference is here is that on April 25th is the second hard date for the assignments that were from the midterm on to April 24th. Otherwise, the class finishes out in a regular fashion. The final exam will be due when the college announces that final exams will be due. So, other than that, the syllabus attachment is standard syllabus attachment. I've got lots of pages that are white here. I'm not sure why, but I would encourage you to read through these things as they apply, to all of your classes. The only other thing that I want you to do as a part of this video is to look at the student signature page. And so for this, it's basically just saying that you've reviewed the syllabus and that you agree to it, you understand it, and you're willing to abide by it. Please write down the course name and then your name, and then sign this, and then a current phone number if you like. If you don't want me to have your phone number, then you can leave that blank, and then the date that you signed it. You have a couple options here in terms of how you fill it out. You could just type out your name here like so, and then sign it. I think in Word you have the ability to I don't know, I think you can do like this. Yeah, so you could do this, or you could print it off and then take a picture of it and then upload that picture to the Moodle page. Please let me know if you have any further questions.